The bitter February wind cut through Logan Fuller's thin jacket like a knife as he hurried down the sidewalk. His 6-year-old daughter Emma's small hand tucked safely in his. He could feel her shivering despite the pink puffy coat he had bought her from the thrift store last week, and guilt gnawed at his chest. Maybe they should have taken the bus, but the fare would have meant choosing between dinner tonight or breakfast tomorrow, and he refused to let his daughter go hungry again. "Daddy, my fingers are cold," Emma said, her voice small against the howling wind. Logan immediately stopped and knelt down, pulling off his own worn gloves and sliding them onto her tiny hands. They were far too big, but at least they would provide some warmth. "Better, sweetheart," Emma nodded, her brown eyes so much like her mother's that it made his heart ache. Sarah had been gone for 3 years now, taken by cancer when Emma was barely 3. The medical bills had bankrupted them, and Logan had been climbing out of that hole ever since, working double shifts at the warehouse while trying to be both mother and father to his little girl. "Come on, we're almost to the diner. Miss Patricia said she saved you some of those chocolate chip cookies you like." Emma's face lit up, and that smile made every struggle worth it. Logan stood, taking her hand again, and they continued down the street. Patricia's diner was their Friday night tradition when he got paid. It was not much, just a bowl of soup and some bread to share, but Patricia always slipped Emma extra treats when she thought Logan was not looking. He pretended not to notice, swallowing his pride because his daughter's happiness mattered more than his ego. As they passed the alley beside the old Mason building, Logan heard a sound that made him stop. It was barely audible over the wind, but years of being alert to Emma's needs had fine-tuned his hearing. Someone was crying. He peered into the dim alley and saw a woman huddled against the brick wall, her arms wrapped around herself. She wore what looked like expensive dress pants and a silk blouse, but no coat. She was shaking violently, her dark hair whipping around her face. "Stay right here, Emma," Logan said, guiding his daughter to stand against the building. "Do not move, okay?" "Okay, Daddy." Logan approached the woman carefully. "Madam, are you all right?" The woman looked up, and even in the dim light, he could see her eyes were red from crying. She was beautiful, probably in her early 30s, with delicate features and an air of sophistication that seemed out of place in this rough neighborhood. "I'm fine," she said, but her voice shook as badly as her body. "Just waiting for someone." Logan noticed her lips had a bluish tinge. "How long have you been out here?" "I don't know, maybe an hour. My phone died and She trailed off, wrapping her arms tighter around herself. Without thinking, Logan shrugged out of his jacket. It was not much, just a thin canvas work jacket with a broken zipper, but it was better than nothing. "Here, take this." "No, I couldn't possibly, please," Logan interrupted, holding it out to her. "You'll freeze to death. I've got long sleeves on, I'll be fine." The woman stared at him for a long moment, her hazel eyes searching his face as if trying to understand why a stranger would help her. Finally, she reached out with trembling hands and took the jacket, pulling it around her shoulders. It swallowed her small frame, but Logan could see the immediate relief on her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "I was mugged about an hour ago. They took my phone, my wallet, everything. I was trying to get to my office building, but the security guard would not let me in without ID, and Her voice cracked. "I just needed a minute to think." Logan felt a surge of protectiveness that surprised him. "Do you have somewhere you can go? Someone I can call for you?" "I don't remember anyone's number," she admitted, looking embarrassed. "Everything's in my phone." "I know that sounds stupid in this day and age, but I never had to memorize anything." "Daddy," Emma's voice called out, uncertain. "I'm okay, sweetheart, just one more minute," Logan called back. He turned to the woman. "Look, there's a diner just down the block. They've got a phone you can use. Why don't you come with us? Get warmed up, figure out who to call." The woman looked at him again with that same searching gaze, then glanced past him to where Emma stood waiting. Something shifted in her expression. "Are you sure? I don't want to impose on your evening with your daughter." "It's just soup night, nothing fancy. Come on before we all turn into popsicles. A small smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. Okay, thank you. I'm Lillian, by the way, Lillian Hayes. Logan Fuller, that's my daughter Emma. They walked the remaining block to Patricia's diner, Emma shooting curious glances up at Lillian. Inside, the warmth hit them like a wave, and Logan saw Lillian actually sway with relief. Patricia looked up from behind the counter, her weathered face breaking into a smile when she saw Logan and Emma, then showing concern when she noticed Lillian. Logan, honey, everything okay? This is Lillian. She was mugged and needs to use the phone if that's all right. Patricia's expression immediately shifted to one of maternal concern. Oh, you poor thing. Of course. Come sit down first, get some warmth in you. I'll bring coffee. Logan guided Lillian to their usual booth while Patricia bustled over with steaming mugs of coffee. Emma climbed into the seat beside Logan, studying Lillian with the frank curiosity of a child. Why were you crying? Emma asked. Emma, that's not polite, Logan said gently. It's okay, Lillian said, cupping her hands around the warm mug. She looked at Emma with surprising openness. I was crying because I was scared and cold and sad. Sometimes grown-ups cry too. Emma nodded solemnly. I cried when my mommy died. Logan's throat tightened. Emma. It's true, Emma insisted, then turned back to Lillian. My daddy cries sometimes too, but he tries to be quiet so I won't hear, but I do. Logan felt heat rise in his face, but when he glanced at Lillian, there was no pity in her eyes, just understanding. Your daddy must love you very much, Lillian said softly. He does. He gives me his gloves and everything. Emma held up her hands, showing off the oversized gloves. Patricia returned with bowls of soup and a basket of bread, plus a plate of cookies that she set directly in front of Emma. You folks eat up. Lillian, the phone's behind the counter whenever you're ready. As they ate, Logan noticed Lillian watching him and Emma with an expression he could not quite read. It was not the usual pity he got from people when they realized he was struggling. It was something else, something softer. How old are you, Emma? Lillian asked. 6 3/4. I'll be 7 in April. Daddy's going to make me a cake. He makes the best chocolate cake. From a box mix, Logan added, feeling suddenly self-conscious. This woman clearly came from money, judging by her clothes and the way she carried herself. What must she think of their simple life? Homemade is always better than store-bought, Lillian said. My mother used to make me chocolate cake for my birthday too. She'd let me lick the spoon. Emma's eyes widened. Daddy lets me do that too. After Emma had demolished 2 cookies and most of the soup, Lillian excused herself to use the phone. Logan watched her speak to someone, her posture gradually straightening as she talked. When she returned to the table, she looked more composed. My assistant is sending a car for me. It'll be here in about 20 minutes. She hesitated, then added, I want to give you your jacket back, but I also want to make sure it gets cleaned first. Can I have it sent to you? And I'd like to replace it with something warmer. Logan shook his head immediately. That's not necessary, really. I'm just glad you're okay. Please, Lillian said, and there was something vulnerable in her eyes. You helped me when you didn't have to, when I'm sure you have your own struggles. Let me do this. Something in her tone made Logan pause. She was not offering out of pity or obligation. She genuinely wanted to do something kind in return. All right, he said finally. But only if you keep the jacket until you get home. I don't want you getting cold again. Lillian smiled, a real smile this time that reached her eyes. Deal. They talked while they waited for her car, and Logan found himself surprisingly comfortable. Lillian asked Emma about school and her favorite things to do, listening with genuine interest. She had a way of talking to Emma like she was a real person, not just a child to be humored. When a sleek black car pulled up outside, Lillian stood reluctantly. Thank you both. Really, I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't stopped. Anyone would have done the same, Logan said. Lillian looked at him steadily. No, they wouldn't have. Trust me. She reached into the pocket of his jacket and pulled out a business card that somehow survived the mugging. This is my office. Call the number on Monday and ask for me. I want to make sure I can return your jacket properly." Logan took the card, glancing at it. His eyes widened. "You're the CEO of Hayes Industries." Lillian's expression turned guarded. "Does that change things?" "No," Logan said honestly. "You were just a person who needed help. That's all that mattered." Something shifted in Lillian's face, a softness that made her look younger. "Goodbye, Logan. Goodbye, Emma. Thank you for the soup and the company." After she left, Emma tugged on Logan's sleeve. "I like her, Daddy. She has a nice smile." Logan looked at the business card in his hand, then tucked it into his pocket. "Yeah, she does." That night, after he had tucked Emma into bed and collapsed onto the couch, Logan found himself thinking about Lillian Hayes. He wondered what she had been doing in this neighborhood, why someone had targeted her, if she was really okay. He told himself it did not matter, that their paths had crossed for a moment, and now life would go back to normal. But Monday morning, his phone rang just as he was dropping Emma off at school. "Is this Logan Fuller?" a crisp female voice asked. "Yes, who's calling?" "This is Jennifer Chen, assistant to Lillian Hayes. Miss Hayes asked me to reach out about returning your jacket. Would you be available to meet this afternoon?" Logan looked down at his work clothes, already stained from the morning shift. "I work until 5. "Perfect. Would 5:30 at Café Rosewood work for you? It's on—" "I know where it is," Logan interrupted, "but that place is expensive." "I can just pick up the jacket from your office." There was a pause. "Miss Hayes specifically requested Café Rosewood. She'd like to thank you properly, and please bring Emma if you need to. Everything will be taken care of." Logan wanted to refuse, but something stopped him. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the memory of Lillian's hazel eyes in the alley. "All right, 5:30. When Logan arrived at Café Rosewood with Emma that evening, he felt distinctly out of place. The restaurant was all white tablecloths and crystal glasses, with prices on the menu that made his stomach churn. The hostess gave him a once-over that made it clear she thought he was in the wrong place. "We're meeting Lillian Hayes," Logan said, fighting to keep his voice steady. The hostess's demeanor changed instantly. "Of course, Mr. Fuller. Right this way." Lillian was already seated at a corner table, and when she looked up and saw them, her face broke into a genuine smile. She was wearing a navy suit that probably cost more than Logan's rent, but there was nothing cold about her expression. "Logan, Emma, thank you for coming." She stood, and Logan noticed she had a large shopping bag beside her chair. "Please sit. I hope you're hungry." "We shouldn't," Logan began, but Emma was already climbing into a chair, her eyes wide as she looked around the fancy restaurant. "Please," Lillian said softly, "let me do this." "You have no idea what your kindness meant to me on Friday," they ordered, and Logan tried not to panic when he saw Emma choose chicken fingers and fries, probably the most expensive chicken fingers in the city. But Lillian seemed delighted, ordering the same thing herself. "I've been craving comfort food all day," she admitted. "Sometimes you just need the simple things." As they ate, Lillian pulled out the shopping bag. "I had your jacket cleaned, but I also wanted to give you this." She handed him a box. Inside was a high-quality winter coat, the kind with real insulation and a sturdy zipper. "Lillian, this is too much," Logan protested. "It's exactly enough," she countered. "You gave me your only coat in freezing weather. Let me give you one back." There was something in her tone that brooked no argument. Logan looked at the coat, feeling a mix of gratitude and discomfort. He was not used to accepting help, to being on the receiving end of generosity. "Thank you," he said finally, meaning it. "And this is for Emma," Lillian added, pulling out another box. Inside was a beautiful winter coat, pink with white fur trim, along with matching gloves and a hat. Emma gasped. "Is this really for me?" "If you'd like it," Lillian said. "I noticed your coat was getting a little small." Growing girls need coats that fit. Emma looked at Logan with pleading eyes. "Can I keep it, Daddy, please?" Logan wanted to refuse to maintain his pride, but the hope in his daughter's face melted his resolve. "If Miss Hayes insists—" "I do," Lillian said firmly. And please call me Lillian. They talked through dinner, and Logan found himself opening up in ways he rarely did. Lillian asked about his work, about raising Emma alone, about their life, but it never felt intrusive or pitying. She listened like she genuinely cared, asking follow-up questions that showed she was really paying attention. In turn, Lillian shared bits of her own story. She had built Hayes Industries from the ground up after her father passed away, taking a small manufacturing company and transforming it into a major player in sustainable technology. She worked 18-hour days, rarely took vacations, and had devoted the last decade of her life to proving she belonged in the boardroom. "I don't have much of a life outside work," she admitted, pushing her fries around her plate. "Friday night, I was walking to my car after everyone else had gone home. I always park in that neighborhood because it's cheaper than the garage downtown. Stupid decision." "It wasn't your fault," Logan said firmly. "I know, but it made me realize how isolated I've become. I couldn't remember a single friend's phone number. My assistant's was in my work email, which I could access from her computer when I finally got into the building. But for personal relationships, I've let everything slide." Emma, who had been coloring on the kids' menu the restaurant provided, looked up. "Do you have any kids?" "Emma," Logan said, but Lillian shook her head. "It's okay. No, I don't have children. I've been so focused on work that I never made time for a family." She looked at Emma with something wistful in her eyes. "Do you like being a kid?" Emma considered this seriously. "Sometimes. It's fun when I'm with Daddy. He reads me stories and plays games with me, but sometimes I wish I could help him more. He gets really tired." Logan felt his throat tighten. "You help me all the time, sweetheart, just by being you." "See, that's what I missed out on," Lillian said softly. "That kind of love, that connection." They stayed at the restaurant until Emma started yawning and Lillian insisted on driving them home. Logan protested, but she had already pulled up a ride service on her phone. "I'm going the same direction anyway," she said, though Logan suspected that was not true. In the car, Emma fell asleep against Logan's shoulder. Lillian watched them in the dim light, and Logan caught something tender in her expression. "You're a good father," she said quietly. "Emma's lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one," Logan replied. "She's my whole world." "I can tell." Lillian paused, seeming to wrestle with something. "Would it be weird if I asked to see you both again? Not for any particular reason, just, I enjoyed this evening. It felt real, normal." Logan studied her in the passing streetlights. "You want to hang out with a warehouse worker and his 6-year-old. "I want to spend time with people who remind me that there's more to life than quarterly earnings and board meetings," Lillian said. "But only if you're comfortable with that. I don't want to intrude on your life." Logan thought about it. There were a dozen reasons to say no, to maintain boundaries, to protect his heart and Emma's from inevitable complications. But there was something about Lillian that drew him in, a vulnerability beneath her polished exterior that resonated with his own struggles. "Emma and I usually go to the park on Saturdays if the weather's decent," he said. "You're welcome to join us." Lillian's smile could have lit up the entire car. "I'd love that. Thank you." Saturday arrived with clear skies and temperatures just warm enough to be bearable in their new coats. Logan texted Lillian the address, half expecting her to back out. But at 10 o'clock sharp, she appeared at the park entrance, dressed in jeans and a casual sweater that made her look younger and more approachable. Emma ran up to her immediately. "You came. Do you want to see how high I can swing?" "I would love that," Lillian said, and the genuine enthusiasm in her voice made Logan's chest warm. They spent the morning at the playground, Lillian pushing Emma on the swings and helping her across the monkey bars. Logan watched them, struck by how natural Lillian was with his daughter. She did not talk down to Emma or treat her like a prop. She engaged with her fully, laughing at her jokes and listening to her rambling stories about school. Later, they sat on a bench while Emma played in the sandbox with some other kids. "I called my mother yesterday," Lillian said suddenly. "First time in about 6 months, we talked for 2 hours. That's good, isn't it? It was overdue. After Friday night, after almost freezing in that alley, I realized I've been so focused on building my company that I've neglected everything else. My mother, my friends, any chance at a normal life. She looked at him. You reminded me what really matters. I didn't do anything special. You gave me your coat when you clearly needed it yourself. You took me to dinner with your daughter, shared your Friday night tradition with a stranger. You treated me like a person, not like a CEO or a business opportunity. Lillian's voice was thick with emotion. Do you know how rare that is? Logan did not know what to say, so he reached over and took her hand. It was a simple gesture, but Lillian's fingers tightened around his like he had thrown her a lifeline. I haven't been on a real date in 5 years, she confessed. Every relationship I've tried to start falls apart because I work too much or because the person is more interested in my money than me. I gave up trying. For what it's worth, I haven't dated since my wife died, Logan admitted. I've been so focused on Emma and just surviving that I haven't even thought about it. Until now. Lillian turned to look at him, her hazel eyes searching his face. Until now, Logan felt his heart hammering. This was crazy. She was a CEO, wealthy beyond his imagination, living in a completely different world. But when he looked at her, he did not see any of that. He saw the scared woman in the alley, the person who laughed at Emma's terrible knock-knock jokes, the daughter who had neglected her mother because work consumed her. He saw someone real. Yeah, he said softly. Until now. They started seeing each other regularly after that. Lillian would join them for their Saturday park visits, then Sunday afternoon walks. She came to Emma's school play and cheered louder than anyone when Emma forgot her lines but powered through anyway. She learned to make grilled cheese sandwiches the way Emma liked them, with the crusts cut off and sliced diagonally. Logan introduced her to his world slowly, worried she would realize how different their lives were and back away. But Lillian never flinched. When she came to his small apartment for the first time, she did not comment on the second-hand furniture or the way the heater clanked. She sat on the worn couch, played Uno with Emma, and looked more relaxed than Logan had ever seen her. "This is nice," she said after Emma had gone to bed. They were sitting together on that same couch, shoulder to shoulder in the quiet evening. "It feels like a home." "It's not much," Logan said. "It's everything," Lillian corrected. "My penthouse is 5 times this size, but it has never felt like home. It's just a place I sleep between work sessions. This, though, you've built something real here." Logan turned to face her, and the distance between them suddenly felt charged. "Lillian, I'm falling for you," she said, the words tumbling out in a rush. "I know it's fast and probably crazy, but I can't help it. You and Emma, you've shown me what I've been missing. What I want." Logan reached up and cupped her face gently. "I'm falling for you too. It scares me, honestly. Our lives are so different." "Maybe they don't have to be," Lillian whispered. "Maybe we can figure it out together." Their first kiss was soft and tentative, years of loneliness melting away in the warmth of connection. Logan felt something in his chest unlock, a part of himself he had closed off after Sarah died. He had not thought he would ever feel this way again, had not dared to hope. But here was Lillian, brilliant and broken and trying to find her way back to the person she wanted to be. And somehow, she saw something in him worth caring about. They took things slowly, conscious of Emma's feelings. Logan sat his daughter down and explained that Lillian was becoming a very special person in his life, but that would never change how much he loved Emma. Emma had just shrugged. "I know, Daddy. I like Lillian. She's nice, and she makes you smile more." Out of the mouths of babes. As weeks turned into months, Logan and Lillian navigated the challenges of their different worlds. Lillian started leaving work earlier, delegating more to her capable team so she could spend evenings with Logan and Emma. Logan struggled with accepting help, even when Lillian gently offered to contribute to Emma's school expenses or replace their ancient refrigerator when it finally gave up. "I need to provide for my daughter," Logan said firmly, when Lillian suggested covering Emma's upcoming summer camp fees. "That's my job as her father." "I'm not trying to take that away from you," Lillian said gently. "But relationships are about partnership, Logan, about supporting each other. You gave me your coat, remember? Let me give something back. That was different." "How?" "Because I needed help and you didn't. We all need help sometimes. It doesn't make you less of a man or less of a father to accept it." Logan knew she was right, but years of grinding poverty had instilled in him a fierce independence. He had survived this long on his own, had kept Emma fed and clothed and happy despite everything. Accepting Lillian's help felt like admitting defeat, but Lillian was patient. She did not push, did not try to overwhelm him with grand gestures. Instead, she found small ways to help that Logan could accept. She would bring over groceries and cook dinner, claiming she had bought too much at the store. She would pick Emma up from school when Logan's shift ran late, saying she was in the neighborhood anyway. Gradually, Logan's walls came down. He started to see that accepting help was not weakness but trust. And he trusted Lillian completely. 6 months after that night in the alley, Logan invited Lillian to Emma's 7th birthday party. It was a small affair at the apartment, just a few of Emma's school friends and Patricia from the diner. Logan had spent days preparing, baking the promised chocolate cake from scratch and decorating the apartment with streamers Emma had picked out. Lillian arrived with a carefully chosen gift, a set of art supplies that Emma had mentioned wanting months ago. But more than that, she arrived with her mother, an elegant woman in her 60s who hugged Logan like she had known him for years. "You must be the man who saved my daughter, Mrs. Hayes said warmly. "She's told me so much about you and Emma." Logan glanced at Lillian, who blushed. "I may have talked about you a few times." "A few," her mother laughed. "Darling, you barely talk about anything else." The party was chaotic and perfect, full of kids hopped up on cake and running around in circles. Lillian threw herself into it, organizing games and helping wrangle 7-year-olds with the same focus she probably brought to board meetings. Logan watched her, his heart so full it almost hurt. Later, after the guests had left and Emma had finally crashed from her sugar high, Logan and Lillian sat together on the couch. Her mother had taken Emma to get ready for bed, giving them a moment alone. "Thank you for today," Logan said. "For being here, for bringing your mom, for everything." "There's nowhere else I'd rather be," Lillian said simply. She took his hand, her expression turning serious. "Logan, I need to tell you something." His stomach clenched. "Okay, I love you. I'm in love with you. I know we haven't said it yet, and maybe it's too soon, but I can't keep it in anymore. You and Emma, you've changed my life. You've made me want things I never thought I'd have. A family, a home, a life that matters beyond spreadsheets and profit margins." Logan felt tears prick his eyes. "I love you too. I've loved you for months, but I was scared to say it. Scared you'd realize you could do so much better than a warehouse worker living paycheck to paycheck." "Better," Lillian's voice cracked. "Logan, you're the best man I've ever known. You're kind and strong and devoted. You raised an incredible daughter mostly on your own. You work yourself to exhaustion to give her everything she needs. You gave your coat to a stranger because she was cold. How could I possibly do better than that?" Logan pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. "I don't know what I did to deserve you. You were yourself. That's all you ever needed to be." They held each other in the quiet apartment, the city sounds filtering through the windows. Logan thought about how much his life had changed in 6 months, how one act of kindness had led to this moment. He did not believe in fate, but he believed in choice. He had chosen to help Lillian that night, and she had chosen to stay in his life. They were choosing each other every day, despite the obstacles. A few weeks later, Logan's supervisor called him into the office. His stomach dropped, convinced he was being fired. Money was tight enough without losing his job. But instead, his supervisor offered him a promotion to shift manager, with a significant raise. "You're one of our best workers, Fuller. Always on time, never complaining, picking up shifts when others call out. We want to keep you around." Logan accepted immediately, relief flooding through him. The raise would not make him rich, but it would mean breathing room, the ability to save a little instead of constantly scrambling. Maybe even taking Emma somewhere special for a weekend. When he told Lillian that night, she threw her arms around him. "I'm so proud of you. This is wonderful news." "It's not CEO money," Logan joked, but Lillian shook her head firmly. "It's your money, earned through your hard work. That's what matters. We should celebrate. Let me take you and Emma somewhere special this weekend." They went to the aquarium, something Emma had been begging to visit for years. Logan watched his daughter press her face against the glass of the shark tank, eyes wide with wonder, while Lillian stood beside her explaining facts she had apparently looked up beforehand. The sight made something crystallize in Logan's mind. He wanted this, not just for now, but forever. He wanted Lillian in his life, in Emma's life, building something together. The thought terrified him, but it also felt absolutely right. That evening, after Emma had fallen asleep in the car on the way home, Logan carried his daughter upstairs while Lillian followed. Once Emma was tucked into bed, they sat together on the apartment steps, looking out at the city lights. "I've been thinking," Logan said carefully, "about the future, about us." Lillian tensed slightly. "Okay. I don't have much to offer you. This apartment, my job, they're nothing compared to what you're used to. But I can offer you my heart, completely and forever. I can offer you a man who will love you and respect you and choose you every single day. I can offer you a daughter who already thinks you hung the moon. I can offer you a family if that's what you want." Lillian's eyes filled with tears. "Logan, are you—" "I don't have a ring yet," Logan interrupted, his voice rough with emotion. "I want to get you one, a proper one, but that'll take some time to save up for. But I needed you to know my intentions. I want to marry you, Lillian. I want to build a life with you if you'll have me." Lillian was crying openly now, but she was also smiling. "I don't need a ring, I just need you. Yes, Logan, yes to all of it." They kissed there on the steps, not caring who might see, pouring years of loneliness and hope and love into that connection. When they finally pulled apart, both were crying. "I do want a ring, though," Lillian said, laughing through her tears. "Not an expensive one. Just something that shows I'm yours." "You'll have one," Logan promised. "I'll work extra shifts, save every penny. Or," Lillian said carefully, "you could let me help. Let me contribute to our life together. Not because I think you can't do it alone, but because I want to. Because that's what partners do." Logan took a deep breath. This was still hard for him, accepting help, sharing the burden, but Lillian was right. They were partners now. That meant both giving and receiving. "Okay," he said. "We'll figure it out together." The next morning, Logan sat Emma down for a serious conversation. "Sweetheart, I need to ask you something important." Emma looked up from her cereal, suddenly alert. "Am I in trouble?" No, nothing like that." Logan took her small hand. "You know how much Lillian has been around lately. How she's become part of our family." Emma nodded slowly. "Well, I want to ask her to marry me, to officially become part of our family forever. But I need to know how you feel about that. This is your home too, your family too. Your feelings matter just as much as mine." Emma was quiet for a long moment, her young face serious in a way that reminded Logan she had grown up faster than most kids her age. Finally, she spoke. "Will she be my mom?" Logan's chest tightened. "She could be if you want that. She would never try to replace your mother. Your mom will always be your mom and she'll always love you, but Lillian loves you too in her own way. She could be another mom if that's okay with you." Emma chewed on her lip, thinking. "I don't remember my first mom very well. Sometimes I feel bad about that." "Oh, sweetheart." Logan pulled her into his lap. "That's not your fault. You were so young, but your mom loved you so much, and she'd want you to be happy. She'd want you to have people in your life who love you and take care of you. Do you think she'd like Lillian?" Logan thought about Sarah, about her fierce love for Emma, her generous heart. "I think she'd be happy that you have someone else who cares about you so much. I think she'd like that I found someone who makes me smile again." Emma nodded against his chest. Then she pulled back and looked at him with those serious eyes. "I like Lillian. She's nice to both of us, and she doesn't try to buy my love with fancy things. She just spends time with me. Can I call her Mom if I want to? You can call her whatever feels right to you. We'll talk to her about it together." "Okay. Then yes, you should marry her." Emma paused, then added with the gravity of a child, "But I want to help pick the ring. Girls know about these things." Logan laughed, the sound full of relief and love. "Deal." They went ring shopping together the following weekend, all three of them. Logan had explained the situation to Lillian, who had cried again and hugged Emma so tight the girl squeaked. "You can call me whatever you're comfortable with," Lillian had told Emma. "Mom, Lillian, whatever feels right." There's no pressure. At the jewelry store, Emma took her role very seriously, examining rings with a critical eye that made the saleswoman smile. "This one," Emma finally declared, pointing to a simple silver band with a small diamond. "It's pretty, but it's not too fancy." Lillian doesn't like too fancy. She was right. Logan could see it immediately. The ring was elegant but understated, beautiful without being ostentatious. It was perfect. The saleswoman quoted a price that made Logan's stomach drop, but before he could speak, Lillian squeezed his hand. "Together," she whispered. "Let's buy it together." Logan wanted to argue, but looking at Emma's hopeful face and Lillian's loving eyes, he realized this was another wall he needed to let fall. They were building a life together, pooling their resources and their hearts. "Together," he agreed. Logan proposed a week later at the place where it had all started, the alley beside the Mason building. He had asked Lillian to meet him there, claiming he wanted to show her something. Emma was with Patricia, who was in on the plan. "This is where you found me," Lillian said softly as they stood in the spot where she had been huddled against the wall months ago. "Why here?" "Because this is where my life changed," Logan said. He got down on one knee, pulling out the ring box. "I was just trying to get through each day, focused on survival. But you reminded me that there's more to life than just surviving. You showed me how to live again. How to love again. Lillian Hayes, will you marry me?" Lillian was already crying, nodding before she could get words out. "Yes. Yes, absolutely yes." Logan slid the ring onto her finger, and they stood there in the alley, holding each other where they had first met. It felt poetic somehow, closing a circle that had begun with one act of kindness. They were married 3 months later in a small ceremony at Patricia's diner, which Lillian had rented out for the evening. It was intimate and perfect, with Emma as the flower girl and both their mothers in attendance. Logan wore a suit that Lillian helped him pick out. Nothing too fancy, just something that made him feel confident. When Lillian walked down the makeshift aisle, Logan felt his breath catch. She wore a simple cream-colored dress, her hair down the way he loved it, carrying a bouquet of daisies that Emma had insisted on. "You look beautiful," he whispered when she reached him. "You're not so bad yourself," she whispered back, her eyes shining. They exchanged vows they had written themselves, promises of partnership and respect and enduring love. Logan's voice shook when he promised to always be worthy of Lillian's trust, to build a life together that honored both their worlds. Lillian promised to be patient with his pride, to love Emma as her own, to choose them every day even when work called or challenges arose. When the officiant pronounced them married, the small crowd erupted in cheers. Emma launched herself at them both, and they stood there as a family, holding each other tight. The reception was full of laughter and dancing, Patricia's famous chocolate cake serving as the wedding cake. Lillian's business associates mingled with Logan's warehouse coworkers, different worlds colliding in the best possible way. As Logan danced with his new wife, Emma asleep in a chair nearby, he thought about the journey that had brought them here. One cold night, one choice to help a stranger had led to this moment. He had given up his coat, and in return, he had gained a love he never thought he would have again. "What are you thinking about?" Lillian asked, her head on his shoulder. "How lucky I am, how grateful." "I'm the lucky one," Lillian countered. "You saved me in more ways than you know." "We saved each other," Logan said, and knew it was true. The early days of marriage brought adjustments. Lillian moved into Logan's apartment initially, wanting Emma to have stability, but the small space quickly became cramped. After much discussion, they agreed to find a new place together, something that felt like a fresh start for all of them. They settled on a modest house in a family-friendly neighborhood, close enough to Emma's school that she could walk with friends. It was not a mansion, but it had 3 bedrooms, a small yard, and enough space for everyone to breathe. Lillian paid more than half, but Logan contributed what he could, maintaining his need to provide. Emma adjusted beautifully, calling Lillian Mom more and more often. One night, Logan overheard her talking to a friend on the phone. "Yeah, I have 2 moms now, one in heaven and one here. I'm pretty lucky." Logan had to step away to compose himself, overwhelmed by the simple wisdom of his daughter. Work-life balance was Lillian's biggest challenge. She had promised to cut back hours, but old habits died hard. There were still late nights at the office, urgent calls during dinner, weekends interrupted by crises. One Friday evening, 6 months into their marriage, it came to a head. Lillian had promised to be home for Emma's school presentation, but she called at the last minute, stuck in a meeting that ran long. Logan took Emma alone, watching his daughter's face scan the crowd looking for Lillian before accepting she was not there. Emma did wonderfully in her presentation, but her smile did not reach her eyes. When Lillian finally got home at 9, full of apologies, Logan was waiting. "Emma's asleep," he said quietly. She was really disappointed. "I know, I'm so sorry, the meeting just— Lillian, we talked about this." "You promised to be there." "I tried, Logan, I really did, but sometimes work can't wait." Logan took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "I'm not asking you to give up your career. I know how important it is to you, how hard you've worked, but Emma is important too. I'm important too. We can't always come second." Lillian sank into a chair, looking exhausted. "You're right. I know you're right. It's just hard to let go of the control, to trust my team to handle things without me." "But you have to," Logan said gently. "Otherwise, what's the point of building a life together if you're never here to live it?" Tears slipped down Lillian's cheeks. "I'm scared. What if I step back and the company falls apart? What if I prove all those people right who said I only succeeded because I had no life, no distractions?" Logan knelt in front of her, taking her hands. "Then those people are idiots. You're brilliant, Lillian. You've built an incredible company, but you're also a person who deserves to have a life outside work, and we need you. Not your money, not your success, just you. What if I can't balance it? What if I fail at being a wife and mother? You won't. You're already wonderful at both. You just need to trust yourself and trust us." Logan squeezed her hands. "Talk to Emma tomorrow. Tell her what you're struggling with. She's more understanding than you might think." The next morning, Lillian did exactly that. She sat Emma down and apologized for missing the presentation, explaining without making excuses that she was still learning how to balance everything. "Are you going to keep missing stuff?" Emma asked, her voice small. "I'm going to try my hardest not to," Lillian said honestly. "But I might mess up sometimes, and I need you to tell me when that happens. Can you do that? Can you help me be better at this?" Emma thought about it, then nodded. "Okay, but you have to promise to really try." "I promise." "I love you, Emma. You and your dad are the most important things in my life. I need to do better at showing that." Emma hugged her, and over her head, Lillian met Logan's eyes. He nodded encouragingly. They would figure this out together. True to her word, Lillian made changes. She hired an additional assistant to handle after-hours issues. She set firm boundaries about weekend work, only handling true emergencies. She started leaving the office by 6 most evenings, coming home to have dinner with her family. It was not perfect. There were still stressful weeks and occasional late nights. But the balance improved, and Logan could see Lillian becoming more present, more relaxed. She laughed more. She slept better. She was happier. Their first year of marriage flew by in a blur of school events and family dinners and quiet evenings on the couch. Logan's promotion came with more responsibility, but also more stability. Lillian's company continued to thrive, proving that she did not need to sacrifice everything to be successful. On their first anniversary, Logan planned a surprise. He arranged for Emma to stay with Lillian's mother for the weekend and drove Lillian to a cabin in the mountains he had rented. "How did you afford this?" Lillian asked as they pulled up to the beautiful log cabin. "Saved for months," Logan said proudly. "I wanted to give you something special, something that came from me." Lillian turned to him with tears in her eyes. "Logan Fuller, you stubborn, wonderful man, this is perfect." They spent the weekend completely unplugged, hiking during the day and sitting by the fire at night. They talked about everything and nothing, reconnecting without the distractions of daily life. "I want another baby," Lillian said suddenly on their last night, curled against Logan's side. "Is that crazy? I know we've only been married a year, but I want to experience pregnancy, raising a child from the beginning. With you." Logan's heart swelled. He had wondered if she might want this, but had been afraid to ask. "I'd love that. Emma would be thrilled to be a big sister." "You think she'd be okay with it? I don't want her to feel replaced or less important. We'd have to be careful to include her, make sure she knows she's just as much our daughter as any new baby would be. But yeah, I think she'd love it." They talked to Emma together when they got home. Her reaction was immediate and enthusiastic. "Really? A baby? Can I help name it? Can I help take care of it? This is the best news ever." Her excitement was contagious, and Lillian laughed with relief. "Yes, you can help with all of it. You're going to be the best big sister." 3 months later, Lillian took a pregnancy test, and it came back positive. Logan held her while she cried happy tears, overwhelmed by the miracle of it. At 33, she had thought she might have missed her chance at this. Now she was carrying their child, creating a new life with the man she loved. The pregnancy was not always easy. Lillian dealt with morning sickness and exhaustion, trying to maintain her work schedule while her body changed. Logan stepped up, taking on more household responsibilities, making sure she rested when she needed to. Emma was involved in every step, going to ultrasound appointments, helping pick out baby clothes, talking to Lillian's growing belly about all the things they would do together. "You're going to love our family," Emma told the baby one evening, her small hand on Lillian's stomach. "We have the best dad, and our mom is really smart and pretty, and I'll teach you everything I know." Logan watched from the doorway, his throat tight with emotion. This was his family, these 3 people who had become his entire world. Their son was born on a snowy January morning. Emma had wanted to be present for the birth, but they had compromised on her coming to the hospital immediately after. When she walked into the room and saw her baby brother, her face lit up with pure joy. "He's so tiny," she breathed, carefully touching his little hand. "Hi, baby, I'm your big sister." They named him Lucas, after Logan's father who had passed away years before. Lucas Fuller Hayes, a bridge between their 2 families, their combined legacy. Lillian's mother arrived later with food and congratulations, but mostly she came to take Emma home so the new parents could rest. Patricia sent flowers and a basket of home-cooked meals. Logan's co-workers sent a giant teddy bear. That first night, with Lucas sleeping in the bassinet beside their bed, Logan and Lillian lay together in the quiet hospital room. "We made a person," Lillian whispered in wonder. "A whole new person." "You did all the hard work," Logan said, kissing her forehead. "You were amazing today. I couldn't have done it without you. Literally, you talked me through every contraction, reminded me to breathe, believed in me when I wanted to give up." She turned to look at him in the dim light. "Thank you for this, for all of it, for being the man who gave me his coat, who showed me what really matters. Thank you for stopping in that alley, for being cold enough that I noticed you, for taking a chance on a struggling dad with nothing to offer." "You had everything to offer," Lillian corrected. "You just didn't know it yet." Adjusting to life with a newborn was chaotic. Logan had forgotten how little sleep new parents got, how demanding an infant could be. But this time was different from when Emma was born. This time he had a partner, someone to split the night feedings and diaper changes with. This time he was not drowning in medical debt and grief, barely holding on. This time he could actually enjoy the moments. He could appreciate Lucas's tiny yawns, his perfect little fingers, the way he scrunched up his face before crying. He could watch Lillian blossom into motherhood, patient and loving, even when exhausted. Emma threw herself into big sister duties with enthusiasm, helping fetch diapers and singing lullabies she made up on the spot. She was so gentle with Lucas, so proud to have a baby brother. "Look, he grabbed my finger," she would exclaim. "He knows I'm his sister." Lillian took 3 months of maternity leave, something Logan knew was hard for her. But she committed to being present for these early months, to bonding with Lucas and supporting Emma through the transition. Logan watched her grow into this new role, learning to breastfeed and soothe a crying baby with the same determination she brought to everything. She was not perfect, none of them were, but she was present and trying and full of love. When Lillian returned to work part-time after 3 months, they hired a nanny to help during the day. Logan had struggled with this decision, feeling like he should be able to handle everything, but Lillian had been firm. "We need support," she said. "There's no shame in accepting help, Logan." Remember, she was right, as she often was. The nanny, a warm grandmother type named Rosa, was a godsend. She helped with Lucas during the day while Logan worked and Emma was at school, freeing up Lillian to focus during her work hours. Life fell into a new rhythm. Chaotic, yes, but full. Logan would come home from his shift to find Emma doing homework at the kitchen table while Rosa fed Lucas. Lillian would arrive shortly after, immediately scooping up the baby and listening to Emma's stories about school. They would have dinner together, all of them, talking about their days. Emma would share about her friends and teachers. Lillian would mention funny moments from meetings. Logan would recount warehouse mishaps that made everyone laugh. Later, after Emma and Lucas were in bed, Logan and Lillian would collapse on the couch together, exhausted but content. "This is harder than running a company," Lillian joked one evening. "But better," Logan said. "So much better," she agreed, snuggling against him. Lucas's first birthday arrived with shocking speed. They threw a party at the house, combining it with Emma's 9th birthday since they were only a few months apart. The house was full of people, laughter, and love. Logan stood in the kitchen, watching the chaos, when Patricia appeared beside him. "You did good, honey," she said, patting his arm. "Look at this family you've built." "I got lucky," Logan said. "That night in the alley, I had no idea it would lead to all this." "Luck had nothing to do with it. You made a choice to help someone, and you kept making good choices after that. You built this life through kindness and hard work and love." Logan watched Lillian help Lucas blow out his candle while Emma cheered beside them. His family, his home. "Yeah," he said softly. "I guess I did." That evening, after everyone had left and the kids were asleep, Logan and Lillian sat in the backyard. It was warm for March, spring arriving early. "Do you ever miss your old life?" Logan asked. "Before me and all this chaos," Lillian was quiet for a moment, considering. "I miss the simplicity sometimes, the control, but I don't miss the loneliness, the emptiness. I worked 80 hours a week and came home to an empty apartment. I had money and success, but no one to share it with. No one who cared about me as a person, not just as a CEO." She turned to look at him in the moonlight. "You gave me something I didn't even know I was missing. Purpose beyond work. A family. Love that doesn't have conditions or expiration dates. This life is messier and harder and so much better." Logan pulled her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo. "I love you. I don't say it enough, but I do. You changed everything for me too." "I love you too. Thank you for giving me your coat." Logan laughed. "Thank you for being stubborn enough to find me again after." They sat together in comfortable silence, the kind that comes from years of partnership. Inside, their children slept safely. Around them, the home they had built together stood strong. 2 years later, Emma at 11, Lucas at 3, they welcomed their daughter Lily. Another planned addition to their growing family, another piece of their hearts walking around outside their bodies. "We're outnumbered now," Logan joked in the hospital as he held his newborn daughter. "We've been outnumbered since the beginning," Lillian said, looking tired but radiant. "We just have more people to love now." Emma and Lucas came to meet their baby sister, Lucas shy at first but quickly warming up, Emma immediately assuming her role as big sister to both younger siblings. "I'm going to teach you everything," Emma told Lily seriously. "Like how to handle Lucas when he's being annoying, and how Dad makes the best pancakes on Saturdays, and how Mom gives the best hugs after nightmares." Logan looked at Lillian over their children's heads, and they shared a smile of perfect understanding. This was their life now. Chaotic and beautiful and full of love, the years that followed were full. Emma grew into a thoughtful teenager, interested in art and social justice. Lucas was all energy and curiosity, constantly asking questions about how things worked. Lily was fearless and funny, keeping everyone on their toes. Logan's career continued to advance. He became warehouse manager, overseeing operations with the same dedication he brought to everything. The job paid well enough that they were comfortable, not wealthy by Lillian's standards, but stable in a way Logan had never imagined possible. Lillian thrived in her dual role as CEO and mother. She set firm boundaries around family time, delegated more, and trusted her team. The company continued to succeed, proving that women could have both career and family without sacrificing either. They became advocates for work-life balance, Lillian speaking at conferences about the importance of being present for family. Logan volunteered at Emma's school, talking to other single parents about resources and support. Patricia's diner remained a weekly tradition. Even as their family grew and their circumstances changed, they still went every Friday for soup and cookies. Patricia had become like a grandmother to the kids, slipping them treats and listening to their stories. "You know what I'm proudest of," Patricia said one evening, watching Logan and Lillian manage their brood. "You two never forgot where you came from. You stayed humble and kind." On their 10th anniversary, Logan and Lillian renewed their vows. This time, it was a bigger ceremony, with all 3 kids participating. Emma read a poem she had written about family. Lucas and Lily scattered flower petals with varying degrees of success. As Logan looked at Lillian across the altar, he thought about that February night a decade ago. A struggling dad, a cold woman, a coat offered without hesitation. Such a small moment, such a simple choice, but it had changed everything. "I would do it again," Logan said during his vows. "I would give you my coat 1,000 times over because every time would lead me back here. To you, to us, to this beautiful life we have built together." Lillian's vows were equally heartfelt. "You saw me when I was at my lowest and chose kindness. You continued to choose kindness every day after. You taught me what real strength looks like, what real love looks like. You and our children are my greatest achievement, my truest success." They kissed while their kids cheered and their friends applauded, and Logan knew with absolute certainty that he was exactly where he was meant to be. Years later, Logan would tell their story to the grandchildren that eventually came along. He would talk about the night in the alley, the coat, the choice to help a stranger. He would explain how sometimes the smallest acts of kindness could ripple outward in ways you could never predict. "So what's the moral of the story, Grandpa?" one grandchild would inevitably ask. And Logan would smile, pulling Lillian close, looking around at the family they had built together. "The moral is simple. Be kind even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. You never know what it might lead to." But that was still years away. For now, Logan stood with his wife and their 3 children, celebrating a decade of marriage, a lifetime of love. He thought about how far they had come, how much they had built together. He thought about giving up his coat on a cold February night, never knowing that the woman he helped would become his whole world. And he thought about how grateful he was for every moment that had led them here, to this perfect, chaotic, beautiful life. Their story was not perfect. They had struggled and disagreed and learned hard lessons about compromise and partnership. But through it all, they had chosen each other. They had chosen love. They had chosen family. That night, after the celebration ended and the kids were asleep, Logan and Lillian stood in their bedroom, helping each other out of their formal clothes. It was such a simple, domestic moment, but it felt sacred somehow. 10 years, Lillian mused. Sometimes it feels like forever, sometimes like just yesterday. I know what you mean. I can still see you in that alley, shivering and scared, but I can also barely remember my life before you. Do you miss it? The simplicity of just you and Emma? Logan thought about it honestly. I miss how uncomplicated things were sometimes, but I wouldn't trade what we have now for anything. Our family, our life together, it is everything I never knew I wanted. Lillian smiled, that same smile that had captured his heart 10 years ago. Good answer. They climbed into bed, and Lillian settled against Logan's chest, her ear over his heart. It was their usual sleeping position, one they had fallen into naturally and never changed. Thank you, she whispered into the darkness. For what? For seeing me that night. For helping me when you had every reason not to. For building this life with me. Logan kissed the top of her head. Thank you for stumbling into my path, for staying even when things got complicated, for loving me and Emma, for giving us Lucas and Lily, for being my partner in everything. They fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other's arms, surrounded by the quiet sounds of their sleeping children down the hall. The house they had made into a home, the family they had created together. Outside, the city hummed with life. Somewhere, someone else might be making a choice to help a stranger, to show kindness when it would be easier not to. And maybe, just maybe, that choice would change their life too. But in this house, in this moment, Logan and Lillian Fuller Hayes slept peacefully. Their story, which had begun with a coat and a cold night, continued to unfold with warmth and love, and the quiet joy of a life well lived. They had started as strangers, a struggling dad and a desperate CEO. But they had become something far greater, partners, lovers, parents, best friends. They had built a family from kindness and hope and stubborn determination to make it work. And in the end, that was more valuable than any amount of money or success. That was what truly mattered. Their happily ever after was not perfect or easy. But it was real and hard-won and absolutely worth every struggle. It was love, in its truest and most beautiful form, and it had all started with a coat on a cold February night.